Welcome to Meadology Week 5, where we will be tickling those taste buds. Hello, Steve, Canadian Sasquatch, coming at you with Meadology Week 5, where we're going to talk about flavoring the meads. That's right, you can flavor the meads beyond just the honey. Just like we did in Week 1, where we used orange, cinnamon, and cloves to flavor up the Joe's Ancient Orange. Most often, you'll see fruit being the main thing people use to flavor meads with. And why not? The honey is sweet smelling and tasting, melds well with the flavors of fruit. What kind of fruit? All of them. Berries, melons, citrus, etc. I've made meads myself with blackberries, cherries, oranges, peaches, and apple juice. Each one had a different level of sweetness, different amount of flavor of the fruit that I use. My favorite fruit are oranges, blood oranges exactly, as they can be both sweet and sour with the great orange flavor to them. I've made 2 batches with them, and they both turned out quite well. Like you saw in Week 3 when I was drinking my blood orange Marmalade melomel, it was both sweet and slightly bitter at the same time, just like a marmalade. If there is a fruit out there, you can definitely make a mead with it. The key is just pairing the honey with it so that they complement each other. If you use a delicate fruit like a strawberry or melons like watermelon, then you should use a light, delicate honey like clover or alfalfa. Something bigger or bolder like citrus or cherry, or prickly pear like you saw last week, you can use a stronger honey to go with it. Also think about vegetables as well. Some of them lend well to making meads. A light hydromel made with cucumber, something hot and spicy with jalapenos or stronger, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Spices. We used spices in our Joes back in Week 1. We used cinnamon and cloves, but what else can you use? Well, what else do you have? I have used star anise, ginger, and nutmeg before. I know of people that have used peppercorns and salt. Make a chocolate salted bochet, which could be kind of like a chocolate salted caramel. Sounds pretty tasty to me. What about herbs? Of course, herbs. Mints do well in meads, like a mojito. And in fact, I do have a bottle of a commercial mojito mead that tasted not too shabby a couple years ago. So I should probably get back into that bottle. Other herbs that you can use. Basil is pretty tasty. I've had quite a few cocktails that use that. Maybe you want to do something completely crazy and make some mead, not for drinking. Yes, I know it's crazy, but what about a marinade? Make a batch of mead with the usual herb suspects, basil, thyme, oregano, rosemary, then marinate some chicken in it, grill it up. That'll be pretty dang delicious to me. What else can you use for flavoring mead? Well, what can you think of? Right now I have a batch of mead that's using the Atomic Fireball candies. I made 4 gallons of that, then I split 1 gallon off, and with that 1 gallon, I went back to the spicy and added ghost chilies. I'm growing ghost chilies in my garden. I added some of those, so I've got thermonuclear Atomic Fireball candy with the ghost chilies. Try some different candies and meads. Just be careful. They do have preservatives in them, and those preservatives can kill off the yeast. So you just need to prep before using them. Usually all you have to do is boil up some water, toss the candy into the water, and boil it for a little bit just to get everything all nice and melt it and whatnot. And then just let it sit overnight and cool down, and most of the preservatives will dissipate through the air overnight. What else can we use? Well, what do wineries, breweries, and distilleries all use? Barrels. We can use wood for adding flavor to the meads. Here in Texas, there is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of barbecue going on year round. So it's fairly easy to find wood that is food safe. Things like oak, mesquite, apple, cherry. Usually any hardwood that grew something that was edible is safe. Do double check though beforehand that the wood is food safe. Some of them do give off some nasty flavors and can even make things a little bit poisonous, so they can make you sick. Nothing too drastic, but you really don't want that in your meads. And with the different woods, you can toast them at different levels, getting different flavors out of the wood as well. Raw tastes different from lightly toasting to medium to black and charred. They all have their different flavors and their different results when you use them at those different flavors. They also give them a different coloring as well, because if you're using a lightly toasted wood, then it won't impart too much color, whereas a charred wood will bring out some dark browns and reds in your mead. An interesting thing to note about wood as well is it deposits tannins into the mead, and that helps reduce the sweetness perception. What does that mean? Well, if you have a super sweet, even cloyingly sweet mead, and you age it on some wood like oak, then it will add tannins to the mead, which makes it seem a lot more dry than it was before. So keep this in mind if you want to age something on wood. You want to make it a little bit more sweet than what you would normally want it, because when you add the wood, that dries it out a little bit. Again, same with the other side is like, if you make it how sweet you really want it, add the wood to it, then it becomes way too dry. I myself have used wood, and right here I'm drinking my chocolate vanilla Bochet, which I aged on toasted Hungarian oak. I did leave it a little bit too long on the oak, unfortunately, so it overpowers it a bit. And I forgot to back sweeten it, so it's a little bit drier than I would like as well. But it's still pretty tasty, and it is getting better as it ages. And right there, I have combined several different flavoring methods to produce this mead. One, Bochet. I boiled the crap out of the honey to caramelize it, and it gives it a nice dark color. Two, I flavored it with chocolate and vanilla. I used cocoa nibs and a vanilla bean, tossed it in there, let them age on there for a little bit. Three, I let it age on Hungarian oak that I toasted at medium level. So I got the oaky flavorness and a little bit of sweetness because of the toasted part of it as well. And then of course four, we aging it. Yep, aging is another way of flavoring meads. They do change with age, and it's hard to predict where they will end up with age. But meads are one of those things that do well with aging, and it's fun to make large batch, open up a bottle every couple of months for several years, and just see how the flavors change over those years. Some of them get a lot more mellow, some of the flavors come through and become more bright. It's really quite interesting how they do have hills and valleys in the flavors as they age, just like red wines or big beers. A great example of this will be the Joe's Ancient Orange. After it's done in 2 months, it tastes really good. But you age it for a couple more months, or a couple of years even, and it gets much better as it ages. Things mellow out, everything just kind of blends together better. The cinnamon, the clove become more in one with each other on the flavors, and it becomes really, really good. One last way to flavor your mead is carbonate it. Yes, carbonation can change the flavor. It can bring the aroma closer to your nose, giving it a brighter aroma or flavor. CO2 is acidic, which means it'll bring out more acidity to your meads. So that will also help with the cloying sweetness of some of them. But to have a sweet carbonated mead, you will need to force carbonate it. And this is where you will put it in a keg and attach a source of CO2 to it and pressurize it and let it sit for a couple of days. You don't want to try and bottle condition a sweet mead because the yeast will just eat through them, carbonate up, and keep on chewing through all those sugars that are still in there until you have bottle bombs, just like we learned back in week 3 when we talked about the yeasts. So if you're going to carbonate a sweet mead, force carbonate it. If you're going to carbonate a dry mead, then go ahead and bottle condition. I have done that with a nice grapefruit hydromel, which was very refreshing, but it took a while for the carbonation to take, and then it took about another year for that particular one for the flavors to become just absolutely delicious. And the grapefruit came through, and it was just a really nice, light summer drink. And with that, gang, we conclude week 5 of Meadology. I'd like to invite you at this point to give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it and or learned something. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe if you have not done so. This way you can catch my future videos as they come out. And as always, everybody, be sure to have a pint of awesome, because I know I will. Cheers.